Most people skip intros in these Iceberg videos, but seeing how everybody watching this video is a bald WoW boomer, I'll give a quick rundown. Somebody made this image of an iceberg covered in random WoW trivia. The deeper you go, the more obscure it gets. I will explain every fact on this image, one tier at a time. But first, let's talk about human error. If I'm explaining something and I 100% know what I'm talking about, you will see a legendary icon. But if I'm just taking a shot in the dark, you will see a poor icon. The other rankings should be self-explanatory. Now, enough introduction, let's get started with Dancing Troll Village. In classic WoW, the world is basically a bunch of intricate valleys in between wall-like mountains, but looking at something from an unintended angle really shows the game's flaws. To counter this, flight paths followed very specific routes as to not break the immersion of this TV set-like world. For fun, WoW devs added little sightseeing locales along flight paths, such as the Ironforge Airport. In the mountains between Darkshore and Winterspring, there is a village of dancing trolls. Just another sight to see while flying. Lucid Nightmare. Back in Legion, Blizzard started putting little weird clues or hints throughout the world that would lead on a galaxy brain level scavenger hunt for cosmetic rewards. The Hive Mind, the Waste of Times, and others are basically the exact same thing. Oh, except the Waste of Time used to have a little wiggly dong that got removed. Either way, you'd go to secret locations and do hidden things and receive a secret reward. Dalaran Sewer Turtles. WoW has millions of references. The Dalaran sewers are no exception. Over here are a bunch of turtles looking up to a level 80 rat, obviously a reference to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Goldshire Children. In Elwyn, there is a group of kids that hangs around Goldshire. Every day, they walk to the top of a specific house and stand in a pentagram formation, and scary sound effects and stuff play in the background. It's really weird, and it's always been there. Void Talon. There are portals in set locations that can spawn throughout Spires of Iraq. If you get in one of these portals, you're able to get a mount. Thing is, only one person per portal, and they only spawn once every 2 days. Bumbles. Bumbles is a bee companion tied to a semi-hidden questline in Stormsong Valley. I'm not certain about this though, because I don't collect and I don't play Alliance. Westfall Chicken. In OG WoW, there are chickens hanging out at the farms of Westfall. If you spam the /cluck emote, eventually the chicken will give you a quest called Cluck. If you get some special feed and turn in the quest, you get a chicken companion. Mulgore Critter War. In the plains of Mulgore, below Thunderbluff, there are regular old critters, just like every other zone, except here, they have weapons and armor and murder each other. Uldaman Lost Vikings. In the Uldaman dungeon, there are 3 named dwarves that are friendly to the Alliance and hostile to the Horde. These are a reference to the Sega Genesis game The Lost Vikings, which was actually developed by Blizzard. Emerald Dream. The Emerald Dream is a place teased to be added to the game since Classic, but due to multiple reasons, it was never fully added, even to this day. This topic is big enough for its own video, which there are millions of on YouTube already. Coiter. Michael Coiter was an artist who worked on WoW and sadly passed away before its 2004 release at the tender age of 19. In the Barrens, there is a stone honoring an orc called MK. If you come back in spirit form, there is a spirit healer called Coiter. The Wanderers Festival. This is a micro-holiday that lasts 1 day a year in Krasarang Wilds. I have no idea why it's on this image. Lincoln. Lincoln isn't a reference NPC, just like the thousands of other reference NPCs. He has a quest line starting in Ungor Crater. It's a big Zelda-y quest line for funsies. You know, go around, do temple stuff, puzzles and stuff. Get a boomerang and a master's sword. Fun stuff. Mr. Pinchy. Mr. Pinchy is an incredibly rare NPC that you can fish up in Outland. that offers to give you things for his freedom. This can be trash or a companion. Gray Riding Camel. This is a mount that is obtained by killing Dormus the Camel Hoarder, which is spawned very rarely in the Oldham Zone by clicking a small interactable item randomly located around the map. Whispering Forest. The Whispering Forest is located in the upper hills of Tirisfal, and was made easily accessible in Cataclysm when flying was unlocked. Surprisingly, the area contained higher level mobs and a ring of mushrooms where fairy dragons would show up on timed intervals and channel some power into the mushroom circle. This place was a complete mystery until the Legion expansion, when it was given ties to an artifact weapon. But perhaps there is still something here undiscovered, as it also has skeletons and abandoned structures. Karazhan Crypts. The Karazhan Crypts are a usually inaccessible area that you're able to glitch into that have always existed since Classic. They have a lot of creepy shit, way different than the rest of the game. It even has named locations and unique models. Yet this area was never used in game until the Lucid Nightmare questline in Legion. Apparently was part of an abandoned wing in the Karazhan raid that never made it, but we'll never quite know for 100%. Nagrand Orphanage. In the old Outland Nagrand, there is an orphanage run by a nice old troll. Simple enough, right? Well, no. For one, this orphanage looks kind of unsafe and almost like an elaborate torture chamber. Second off, there's weird piles of meat and stuff everywhere. And third off, trolls aren't even native to Outland. Why would one set up an orphanage here? Turns out, in the Warlords of Draenor expansion, you can kill a rare spawn in a cave with the same name as the troll, except she's an orc and a cannibal, which all but confirms this place is a trap run by a shape-shifting cannibal. Captain Placeholder. Captain Placeholder was a tool in the original WoW beta to teleport players from Menethil to Aberdyne, because back then the boats were buggy and didn't work. People loved him so much they made songs and jokes about him, and asked for him to be brought back into the game. He was in the Cata beta, dancing in a Gobble Rocket way, before the Flood. But besides that, the captain has vanished. Spirit Healer Subliminal Messages. Basically, people have listened way too closely to the noises that the Spirit Healers make, and they can almost make out them saying things like, "Play WoW," or "It's not that much money." Here, have a listen. Silithus Coast Tauren Village. For a while, there was a village on the coast of southern Silithus behind Ahn'Qiraj that you needed to swim to all the way from Tanaris. It had Tauren architecture, however, no one was here except for some skeletons and a cave. In the cave was a sleeping red dragon named Andrastraz. However, this has all been removed from the game, except for the cave. What was this? What was any of this? What was any of this? Is this like something to do with the Dragon Isles? Like, this isn't even on the script. I'm just fucking rambling. What was this? Pandaren Express. This was an earlier April Fool's joke in Vanilla WoW patch notes. Basically, it said you could call a panda by typing /panda, and this would summon a mini Pandaren, which you could use to order Chinese food in real life. However, this was just a joke. Sholazar Basin Hatch. There is a locked hatch door in Sholazar Basin with a window on it that reads a sequence of numbers, which is just another clear reference to the TV show Lost. And wow, that is the surface level of this iceberg. Most of these things I actually already knew, and they weren't that creepy or mysterious. But, I mean, they're really just a bunch of references. Easter eggs and Lucid Nightmare over and over and over again. But maybe things will get a little darker when we enter. Undercity Throne Room Warcraft 3 sound effects. If you go to the old throne room in Undercity and turn off all your game sounds except for ambient noises and crank your volume up to max, You can hear the sounds of the day Arthas killed his father in Warcraft 3. Also, there's a blood splatter on the floor from King Tyrannus Menethil's crown. Martin Fury. Martin Fury is a GM item that used to have an on-use effect of instantly killing all nearby things. Players, enemies, anything. A GM restored the items of a hacked account to a player named Karate Chop. When doing so, he accidentally gave him this item. Karate Chop proceeded to use the item, kill every single raid boss at the time that was out, scoring world firsts, and him and every single person in his guild got a temporary ban. And after a while, he got a permanent ban. Nowadays, Martin Fury has had its effect changed to kill the caster on use. Chinese censorship. Due to China's strange cultural fear of skeletons, in the Chinese client of the game, basically all instances of skeletons and exposed bones in the game have been either completely removed or replaced with bread. Yeah, you know that fucked up room full of blood and flesh and skullomance? Well, in China, you fight the gingerbread man. That's not even a joke. Samwise Didier icon. This is just a picture of one of the devs' face. It's used as a placeholder thumbnail for incomplete abilities. Gilligam's Isle. This is an isle off the coast of Stranglethorn in the lore of WoW. It was in early WoW builds, as well as on the map in the WoW opening cinematic, and also has a lot of campaigns built around it in the WoW RPG, but it didn't make it to the final release of the game. Reigns of the Bengal Tiger. There are tons of fully modeled, fully animated, fully colored mounts in the game's code that have never been added to the game, even though they totally could. New ones pop up every expansion. One of these is the Bengal Tiger. People thought really hard that this one would get added to the game because the other cool tiger got added to the game, and apparently there was a secret cave you could wall jump to full of tiger skins that people thought a vendor might spawn in. But besides this, nothing else about this mount exists. Corrupted Blood Incident. I'm not sure why this one wasn't on the first tier, but this is where a hunter pet was dismissed while it had the Corrupted Blood debuff from Hakar. The hunter resummoned his pet in Stormwind. Needless to say, WoW looked like 2020 in 2005. It spread all over Azeroth, and thousands died. Researchers apparently studied WoW just in case anything similar happened in real life, and apparently that research went absolutely nowhere. Alpha Ironforge and Undercity. Back in the early builds of the game, both Ironforge and Undercity were much bigger cities with multiple levels, balconies, catwalks, etc. But the devs thought this would be complicated, so they cut all this out of the game. Underwater Goblin Village. Basically exactly what it says. If you swim for long enough in a certain direction, far into the fatigue waters off the coast of Tanaris, while healing the out of yourself, you will eventually stumble across some random goblin building assets at the bottom of the ocean. Why? I have no clue. WKM Room. If you clip through this wall in modern Orgrimmar, log out of the game, log back in, you can get into the wall, travel under the geography of the city, move around a bit, and fly up into this spire. At the top, you find a square room with a lit candle and the initials WKM. I have no idea what this is a reference to, but it is. Old School Ride. Back in the first couple months of Vanilla WoW, the epic mounts that the factions sold weren't the cool ones we're accustomed to today. They were just alternate colored versions of rare quality mounts. They replaced these pretty quickly with the updated armored ones we have now, and even added a way to trade the old ones for the new ones. These old ones are now rare as balls, and even have a feat of strength tied to, having one. It's called Old School Ride. Timeless Isle Bluefire. Timeless Isle has a bunch of secrets and Easter eggs all around it. One of them is an underwater cave where a bunch of skeletons are sitting around a blue fireplace. This didn't do anything until the Warlords of Draenor expansion, where you can find a similar hidden fire which teleports you to this one. Why does a fire in Draenor in the past teleport you to Pandaria in the present? No clue, dude. Timalane's Phylactery. Okay, here we go. There is a random quest item that drops from slimes in Classic WoW called Timalane's Phylactery. It did literally nothing ever. People speculated that it was from a removed quest to get the Ashbringer weapon that was in the game files. So people went on giant quests, linking a whole shit ton of clues together to try and unravel the whereabouts of the weapon. Turns out they were kinda right, and this did have something to do with the Ashbringer. But in the end, the Ashbringer was replaced with Thunder Fury, so they removed everything but this phylactery from the game. It has relevance again in Legion, where you can unlock an alternate skin for the Ashbringer by doing all the random shit people used to do to try and find the OG Ashbringer. Forsaken were undead, not humanoid. In the WoW beta, Forsaken player characters and NPCs were marked with the undead type instead of humanoid, because it makes sense. But, seeing how undead are immune to fears and other CC effects, this made them stupid overpowered in PvP to everything except for paladins. So, because of this, they were nerfed into becoming humanoids. Corrupted Ashbringer event. Despite the Ashbringer not being in Classic WoW, there was the corrupted version of the Ashbringer, which dropped off of Mograine in Naxxramas. This weapon, besides being OP as f***, made you hated by the Argent Dawn if you wore it. And it made you friendly with the Scarlet Crusade. Going to Scarlet Monastery Cathedral with the weapon and approaching Mogaine's sun would play this RP event. It would also cleanse Fairbanks, and he would tell you to cleanse the Ashbringer, you would need to seek out Mogaine's other son in the Outlands. This never amounted to anything. Talisman of Binding Shard. There were a bunch of legendaries in the game files of Classic, probably to test out different stuff. I don't know idea. Either way, they left this legendary neck on the loot table of one of the bosses of Molten Core until one lucky guy won it. The devs realized they didn't remove it, so they took it off the loot tables. But they let this one guy keep his, and he still has it to this day. Also, this is the only necklace in the entire game, yeah, not even the Heart of Azeroth has this, to have a physical, visible effect. Recall Nichi. In Shattrath, there's a vendor for things like a gigantic sack and a bottomless hole. You see where they're going with this one. Sold by a vendor named Harris Pilton. An obvious reference to Paris Hilton. Standing right next to her, if you have a way of seeing ghosts, that is a ghost named Recall Nichi. An obvious reference to Nicole Richie. Dwarven Farm. Just another random use of village assets, this time on the coast of Arathi, not really serving any purpose. And wow, I still knew a lot of these off the top of my head, yet things did get a little more obscure, but let's see about how much more shrouded things become as we sink into... Leopard gnomes in Silvermoon. I don't know what to say here. They are leopard gnomes, they are slaves, and they are in Silvermoon. Old Outlands. Back in Warcraft 3, there were some slight differences in the design of Outland from what it became in WoW. And Blizzard obviously had a lot of different ideas of how to make the zone. If you clip through this wall in the Dead Mines and glide perfectly, you can come across a bunch of unused Outlands assets, kinda. Thus, this place has been dubbed Old Outlands. Torch mechanic. Apparently, back in pre-alpha for World of Warcraft, Duskwood was pitch black, and you needed specially crafted torches to be able to navigate the zone at all. The only remnant of this being in the game is that torch models still emit a small light source, but WAD class accessories. Back when WAD was in development, they let leak a ton of stuff that was being produced, yet for one reason or another, maybe because of the movie, maybe because of garrisons, all this stuff was not added to the game. This involves class accessories like books on the belt for pallies, quivers for hunters, etc., to world bosses, continents, zones, a raid tier. A little bit of stuff like hunter quivers made it into the game in Legion, but not much else. 1999 map. This was the original map of Azeroth, created by Chris Metzen. Apparently, there was a blank wall in a Blizzard office, and Metzen went into the office with some paint and made a rough estimate of this map on the wall. And then he said, "This is Azeroth." I'm not sure if he drew the entire map you're seeing, or just the Azeroth continent, but that's apparently how it happened. Dragon Isle. On the map, in early versions of WoW, was a place called Dragon Isle. This was supposed to be an endgame zone the devs wanted players to go to kill dragons. It'd be lit. But Chris Metzen came along and was like, actually, not all the dragon flights are bad. So the devs were just kind of like, screw it, and they yeeted the plan out the window. Abyssal Maw. In the beginning of Kata, they had a whole elemental thing going on, and the Abyssal Maw was supposed to be the water raid, kind of like Firelands or Throne of the Four Winds. But due to lack of time and commitment, and let's be honest, this is when Activision started stepping in, but that's besides the point. Either way, it was scrapped, which kind of left Neptulon's story open-ended till Legion, and then he just popped up in Legion. Like, what, why? Double Agent. Double Agent is a Pandaren player character. In the Panda starting zone, you start out factionless, and at the end of the starting zone, you leave the Wandering Isle and pick a faction. Double Agent decided, nah, and he didn't pick a faction. He just grinds to the max level every expansion by just picking Peace Bloom and mining copper, and that's it. You can even see a NPC wearing BOEs running around the monk order hall called the Venerable Shaman, which is a clear reference to our fine young man. Mohawk Grenade. Background Wrath, there were a line of WoW commercials where a celebrity would say, "I'm a mage," and then there'd be a commercial about them being a mage. There was a commercial for Mr. T, and he said he was a Night Elf Mohawk, and he hacked the game to make Mohawk a class. This became such a meme that for a while, hand grenades were added to the game where you could throw it at someone, and they'd get a Night Elf head with a Mohawk. And they even added Mohawk as a haircut on the barbershop for Night Elves. GM Island Raid. GM Island is an island, surprise, off the coast of Teldrassil where there's nothing but a burning house and a bunch of dancing NPCs. This is apparently where GMs spawn when they make a new character. Players found a way to clip over here and also a way to clip underground it. Apparently there's a white chair in a white room under this island. Either way, I don't know what this raid is about, but planes running. Before WoW came out, Blizzard was really into the lore, and they figured Tauren were too big to ride any mounts, so they decided to make it so instead of having mounts, they'd just run. Tauren players would have to run for 10 seconds, and then they start running at mount speed. This was obviously broken as so they removed it and gave them Kodos, and the ability to ride most mounts. The Tauren Plains running trainer Samantha Swifthoof still walks up and down the road to Stranglethorn to this day. Serenite Bomb Abuse. The guild who got the world first kill on Lich King Tedman had the rogues in the group using Serenite bombs. Now this was part of, just the normal rogues rotation to do extra DPS, but seeing how the Serenite bombs also did siege damage, because this is the same expansion where Wintergrasp and stuff came out, the platform that breaks during the Lich King boss fight was technically kind of a siege device, kind of like a gate or something. So it would bug out when you did siege damage near them, and it would regrow. This regrowing of platform space made it so that when a Valkyr picked somebody up and dropped them off the ledge, they just get dropped onto the platform. This made the fight astronomically easier, and they scored the world first kill. Little did they know there were invisible game masters watching them, and they state to this day they were definitely cheating, and they got their world first taken away. Kerrigan Shredders. In every empty shredder asset that dots Cataclysm or older zones, if you look inside of the cockpit, there is a screen that has a low resolution image of Kerrigan from StarCraft. Also, newer model shredders have higher resolution image of the Queen of Blades. Toyota commercial.
I've gone ahead and equipped my Epic Axe. Switching to explosive arrows.
Yeah, I'm gonna equip myself with a little, 4 Wheels of Fury! Oh!
No way. There's no trucks in World of Warcraft.
Let's do this! Oh! Did you see me lay down the law? I am the lawgiver!
Where can I get one of those?
Yeah. Face swap bug. Back in Wrath, sometimes your character would load into the game with the wrong face asset. This probably started in Wrath because of something to do with the barbershop, but I don't know. Otherworld glitch. I have no idea about this one. According to a guy on Reddit, it is a fake glitch from private servers, but either way, I could not find any footage. It would apparently bug out your visuals when using a portal, but I'm pretty sure this one is fake. Crabby. Has anything ever gone wrong with your WoW client and you see this crab? Well, this is Crabby. He's supposed to be like a parody of, Clippy, the paperclip. He was supposed to be an in-game helper, like, do you need help killing Kill Jaden or something like that, but he was never implemented. Yet, he is kind of being used that way on the WoW client whenever it bugs out, so it was kind of true. Unseen. These are invisible level 50 neutral ghosts that are located in Raven Hill and the ruins of Lordaeron. You can only see them with either detect invisibility or while using invisibility as a mage. They were way more powerful than anything else in the entire zones that they're located in, and could completely destroy you if you accidentally AoE'd near them. But they were always in the areas where no other mobs were, so the chances of that happening were incredibly slim. And this was also during Classic, where classes didn't really have a lot of AoE. Contest Winners Tabard. Every anniversary for WoW, they release an item you can use for the entire month that increases your rep and experience gains. However, this item, while using it, also equips you with the appearance of a purple tabard with the World of Warcraft logo on it. This tabard is actually in-game and was given to the players on each realm with the highest amount of honorable kills before the rank 14 honor system was implemented, making it probably the rarest item in the game. Stag stacking. You know how you can ride a druid in stag form? Well, when stag form was implemented, you could ride a stag in stag form. So, you just have stacks of stags. Dwarf mages. As you know, dwarves can be mages in retail WoW, but this wasn't the case until Cataclysm, where every race was given more classes to play. However, in the Classic WoW manual, it says dwarves could be mages, even though they couldn't. Game fuel. Back when gaming was hitting the mainstream big time, Mountain Dew released a new flavor for Halo 3. It was called Mountain Dew Game Fuel. It was some orange flavor, and a year or so later, it introduced 2 more flavors of Game Fuel called Alliance Blue and Horde Red. They tasted pretty good. There were ads for them, on TV, where an orc and a night elf were fighting in a grocery store. My friend at the time thought that was the entire game. Swirly Ball. When rogues used to have to press the detect trap spell, an animation would play where you'd throw up your arms and a swirly bar would spin around your head. They could spam the shit out of this spell while just standing around in major cities, so you just see rogues running around whipping out their arms and a swirly ball spinning around their heads. and they loved it. Blizzard made Detect Trap a passive ability though, so swirly balls went bye-bye. And of course, rogues complained a lot on the forums. Dance Studio. So, on the box for Wrath of the Lich King, it said a new feature for learning new dances was in the game. This was never, ever added, which pisses players off because they wanted more dance emotes. They cry out for the Dance Studio to this day, yet it still has never been brought. And, you know, it's even been used as an April Fool's joke or a meme several times by the developers, just to rub it in that the Dance Studio is and was and will never be added to the game. Fluorescent Green Mechanostrider. A player had bought a new mount in Classic WoW. He spurged out or something and deleted it because he couldn't figure out how to right-click it. He then contacted a GM to have his mount replaced because, you know, 100 gold was a lot back then. And the GM just said, alright, and gave it to him. But he must have typed the wrong item code because instead of giving him his unpainted Mechanostrider, it gave him a fluorescent green Mechanostrider, which only exists in the game files. He was the only and is the only owner of this mount ever. And the devs just kinda let him keep it. Until he tried to sell his account in Worlds of Draenor and got it permabanned. Rogue Bucklers. Back in pre-release WoW, there were more weapons and armor types than there were in release. For example, cloaks used to have armor types. That's why some cloaks are called chain cloaks. Also, there were shields and bucklers. Bucklers were just shields with a lower focus on block and armor and a higher focus on being a stat stick. Rogues and hunters couldn't use shields, but they could use bucklers for some reason. The devs thought these systems were dumb and removed them. And I'm not gonna lie, I actually learned quite a lot of things writing the script for this section of the Iceberg. I mean, I still looked at some of the things and instantly knew what to say, but it was still an interesting section. However, when we go deeper, we start getting to the realm of things I didn't know. The realm of... Blingtron Revolt. Over the years, Blingtrons keep getting added to the game every expansion, and they become progressively weirder and more torn up every time. They seem more and more like at war. They talk about battles, and they even have gray items with weird descriptions alluding to some kind of hidden war. Vanilla Quel'Thalas. There is an inaccessible area in Classic WoW at the northern point of the Eastern Kingdoms called Quel'Thalas. It's right behind Stratholme, with a small amount of elvish architecture that's clearly unfinished, and it's definitely unintended to be seen. Was this supposed to make it to vanilla? No idea, but probably not. Elling Trias predicts Cataclysm. During vanilla, there was a questline that started on Van Cleef's corpse and led all the way until Theramore. Yeah, it went from level 17 to level 40. But it also abruptly ended, where you learned about the fate of Varian Rin. Elling Trias was in charge of a cheese shop and was a secret agent in contact with the SI-7, who helped you get in contact with other people across the world. Matthias Shaw sends you to him, and at some point during this quest chain, he jokes about Deathwing coming back and destroying Stormwind. Unused WoD hairstyles. What do you want from me, man? They are unused hairstyles, and they are in WoD. You should ask more about the cut fungal whale raid boss and the Zangar Sea Zone instead. Uninstant Stratholme. Okay, here we go. In Sapphiron's room in Naxxramas, you can jump into a corner, use a growth potion, sit down, and then close your game client. Wait 20 seconds for your character model to despawn, log back in, and you will be clipping through this corner. Jump up until you're on this ledge, and then jump out. You are now in some snowy winter spring-esque zone. Run until you see a cliff that drops into a copy of Eastern Plaguelands, and run all the way to Stratholme. Go all the way to the portcullis at the end of the dungeon, and it's no longer there. You can walk behind it to find a hidden section of Stratholme with an untextured necropolis floating in the sky. People think this might have been the OG way to enter Nax, kind of like how BWL is in UBRS, but we'll never know. Tuskar Armory Swap. During Wrath on April Fools, everyone's armory character model was changed to a Tuskar. I mean, that's it. Ragnaros 10th anniversary window. During Vanilla WoW, there was a joke where if you looked through this fire thing on the wall behind Golemag, you could see Ragnaros. You couldn't, and if you went there to check, the fire on the wall would kill you. In the 10th anniversary re-release of Molten Core, this actually worked. You could look through it, and you could see Ragnaros, who would kill you. Spirit of Cusco. There was a slime in Wrath that was counted as a spirit beast, and hunters could tame it. So yeah, slime pet for hunters. Garwal. There was a wolf in Wrath that turned into a worgen mid-fight, and if you tamed it the second it transformed, you could have a worgen pet as a hunter. Test camera over shoulder. This is basically just a code, kind of for console support, that eventually became the action cam. Kindy Sparkshine's dad. Kindy Sparkshine was Jaina's apprentice, who died in the bombing of Theramore and disintegrated in Jaina's arms. Her dad lights the lanterns in Legion Dalaran every night, one at a time. Mop Beta Cave Physics. I don't know about this one. I don't know anything about cloaks in Miss Pandaria, but they did add these weird wiggly belt physics in Miss Pandaria, which would glitch out sometimes. Who knows? Maybe it's talking about how the capes on the back of the Pandaren were more animated than anything else in the entire game, because this was the first rendition of newer character models. Thwiziak Sprocket Grind. This is just a very well-hidden engineer trainer in Mulgore. I don't know why it's this low on the list. I mean, I didn't know about it, but it's not that amazing. Moarg Race Hoax. Just some lie about there being playable ogres. There's nothing new, nothing old. PTR World Port. On the PTRs, if Blizzard doesn't deactivate the World Port command, which they do a lot, you're able to basically just teleport anywhere using this command. It's kind of fun, but, you know, you don't always get to do it. Dark Iron Leather Heroic. Apparently, there is, or was, a way to loot this item in Nomergon, and it was a chest piece that had no model, so you were able to transmog your chest to be nothing as a leatherware. Hayman's Hubris. This is a crashed ship hidden off the coast of the Isle of Thunder. In Battle for Azeroth, there is another crashed ship with the Hayman's name that's been turned into a bar off the coast of Vol'dun. Inside of this bar, there is a hidden hearthstone that if you right-click, it'll teleport you to the crashed ship off the coast of the Thunder Isle. ACII art, guild names. ACII art is that stuff you see online or in Twitch chats, where it's an image just made out of symbols and slashes and stuff. And for a while, there was a bug where guild names could have multiple rows in them, so people had ACII art for guild names. The Big Book of Beards. A gray item that drops in Tolbarad. That's it. It's a reference to a similar items and codes of different Blizzard games. Nothing real special about it, but, you know, it exists. It's kind of like an obscure version of the Staff of Jordan. Agrant Sharpshot. Another reference. There's millions of these. I don't know why this one in particular is this low on the iceberg. It's just kind of weird. I don't know. Maybe the guy who made the original image was running out of ideas when he got this low. Either way, this is a reference character. He's got the same name as a guy in Jurassic Park, and he is on the Isle of Giants, which is full of dinosaurs. Heroic Strike canceling in Classic. If you turn on the Heroic Strike, it guarantees your offhand weapon will hit before it lands. So just toggle and untoggle Heroic Strike to guarantee hitting with your offhand. It's a trash mechanic in my opinion. The Cleaner. In Classic WoW, hunters have a solo questline to use their abilities to kill 3 different elite demons to get Rockdalar and Lockdalar. You have to kill them in special ways, and by yourself. If anyone tries to help, the demon will say, "Oh, this shit ain't fair," and run away, and then the Cleaner will show up, and he'll beat the shit out of both of you, because he's invincible. Revan Tusk Trolls. The Horde town in the Hinterlands is controlled by the Revan Tusk Trolls, who had their own reputation until patch 1.5, where they just kinda removed it because it was redundant. Aranicus Questline Dead End. There is a trinket that drops off of the last boss in Sunken Temple in Classic. This trinket gives you a quest to try and free the spirit of Aranicus, and after you turn it into another dragon, it just kind of abruptly ends. You don't save Aranicus, and people think it's incomplete until you realize that you free Aranicus as a part of the Scepter of the Shifting Sands questline. So it was concluded, but it was in a way that barely anybody got to participate in. D&D Shaker. Okay, so in the Cataclysm pre-patch, random zones would just start shaking and there'd be earthquakes, and everybody would be like, what the f is going on? And the way they got these zones to shake was that an invisible NPC would spawn and then cast an earthquake spell. You know, Blizzard has, you know, little hidden secretive ways of doing this. Kind of like how in Nixia, the way she aims her breath is by targeting invisible sheep. Or are they rabbit? And these D&D shakers were just invisible NPCs that would, you know, shake the world. But sometimes they'd bug out, and you could see them. And that's pretty much it. Sandbox Tiger exploits. The Sandbox Tiger and any placeable, rideable object can be used to clip through walls. People use things like these to reach like GM Island and other things. I've covered GM Island earlier on this list, so yeah. I actually didn't know a lot of those, but a lot of them were kind of boring. Like why was there just a random fact about some random reference character on the Isle of Giants? It wasn't too spooky or dark. Hopefully that changes as we sink into... Utgard Keep instanced Summoning Stone. There is a copy of the outside of the dungeon inside of this dungeon. So if you're able to slip past the portal that teleports you out of the dungeon, then there's a copy of the outside world. And you can even use the Summoning Stone to summon people inside the dungeon. Mr. Chili, equipable and weapon slot. Apparently you can equip the snowman item to your character sheet. Armory 3D posing removal. Yeah, I don't know what this is about. Like in the Armory, you used to be able to 3D pose your character, and now you can't. Kobold Lair Dungeon. There is an incredibly early screenshot of a WoW map with certain things marked out. One of them is a Kobold Dungeon in Elwyn. Pretty sure this just turned into Fargo Deep Mine or something, but who knows, maybe there was an earlier rendition of a dungeon in the Elwyn Forest. Spirit Cauldron Collision Bug. Spirit Cauldrons, for a while, had collision, so when you placed them on the ground, you could do things like jump on them, you know, or block a door with them. They removed this interaction. Unknown Reward. It's a data mined item in the WoW files called Unknown Reward. It's unknown. So there you go. Roman Specials. In the WoW Diary, the author explains how he and another developer named Roman Kennedy would add slight variations to cave layout designs and animation used in different enemies. This way, things were slightly different, so everything didn't feel the exact same, but it was still barely different, so they didn't have to work on it too much. They do this at home for free, and they call these Roman Specials. Secret Worgen customization. I have no idea on this one. Maybe this has something to do that back in Cataclysm, when Worgen came out, there were haircuts that you could only get in the barbershop and not the character creation screen. Therefore, when you went to go get your haircut, there were secret Worgen customization options. But I'm just kind of guessing. Leroy Jenkins Elsagate. Elsagate refers to YouTube channels changing their entire lineup of videos just to be skits of guys dressed up as Spider-Man and Elsa doing random shit to appeal to the autoplay children YouTube culture. This is kind of gone now because of the inability to advertise on children-friendly content, but when it was at its peak, the channel that uploaded the original Leroy Jenkins video to YouTube transformed into an Elsagate channel. Fate of Wu Ping. Wu Ping was the weapon master in Stormwind that was removed in the Cataclysm along with weapon skills. A concerned fan asked the GM what happened to Wu Ping, and this is what the GM had to say. Greetings, Haramir. This is Rishker. I hear you're concerned about the fate of Master Wu Ping. Are you free to hear the tale of the Master? Yes. Excellent. When Deathwing arrived at Stormwind, it was none other than Master Wu Ping who came to the rescue. Armed with his trusty arsenal, Wu Ping rushed to the face of the beast. A great battle commenced between dragon and man, Buildings were torched and crushed, and civilians ran for cover the best they could while Wu Ping and Deathwing exchanged blows. Wu Ping, being the great weapon master that he is, took polearm in hand and thrust it into Deathwing for leverage. He, and then reached for his trusty sword, and with a great leap launched himself off the large polearm and struck his sword into Deathwing's ribs. Deathwing, clearly now infuriated, started to fly while Wu Ping was still grasping his sword to flee from Stormwind. Wu Ping clung on for dear life as the two vacated the city. His location is now unknown. Wow, that's incredible. So you see, if not for the valiant efforts of Master Wu Ping, Stormwind would be in far greater ruin. Smiley face. I'm honored to have trained under him. As you should be, Haromir. It's up to you to carry on his legacy. Anything else I can do for y'all today? Yes. When does the story get released in the form of a cinematic? Soon. I'll keep a watch for it then. Until then, I hope you enjoy the new content, Smiley Face. Thank you very much for your time, and take care, Haromir. Colossal Depths, Mystery Signal. If you go into the Colossal Depths Sun Zone in Draenor, you can hear a slight frequency of noises. People speculate this to be some hidden code, possibly? But I have no clue. Kylar's Fingers. I have no clue what this one is. Apparently Kylar is a smaller WoW content creator, so maybe it's an in-joke and the guy who made this original Iceberg image was a fan, but I have no idea. Google didn't show me anything. I even went to Kylar's stream and asked him, but he is turned into a stream just broadcasting the metrics for the you-know-what, so I don't know what to say here. I searched for it on Google and nothing came up. I searched for it on YouTube and this came up.
Fingers in his ass, fingers in his ass. Kanye West he lies, fingers in his ass, fingers in his ass, fingers in his ass. Kanye West he likes big fingers in his ass. Kanye West he likes big fingers in his ass. Kanye West he likes good fingers in his ass. Fingers in his ass, he likes in his ass. He likes in his ass. Fingers in his ass. Yes, pinky, index finger and the thumb in his ass. To the butthole goes numb. West in his ass, north in his ass, east in his ass, most definitely in his ass. Yes, yes, Kanye West he likes fingers in his ass. Kanye West he likes fingers in his ass. Kanye West he likes fingers in his ass. He likes big fingers in his. Kanye West he likes fingers in his ass. Kanye West he likes fingers in his ass. Kanye West he likes fingers in his ass. He likes big fingers in his. Kanye West he likes fingers in his ass. Fingers, 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 fingers in his ass. Kanye West he likes fingers in his ass. Kanye likes fingers in his. Kanye West he likes fingers in his ass. Fingers, 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 fingers in his ass. Fingers in his ass. Fingers in his ass. Kanye likes fingers in his hole.